Everyone called me the weak one. Poor Christy, always getting walked over. Poor Christy, who never stood up for herself. Poor Christy, whose own family treated her like she didn't matter. What they didn't know is that weak little Christy had been keeping their darkest secrets safe for years. And when they pushed me too far, those secrets became the weapon that destroyed them all. See, I wasn't just Christy the pushover. I had a past they knew nothing about. And when they made the biggest mistake of their lives, that past came back to remind them why you should never underestimate the quiet ones. Before I continue with what happened next, let me know where you're watching from in the comments below. Hit that like button and subscribe if you can relate to being underestimated and undervalued. My name is Christy Jackson, and for 15 years I was the family doormat, the one everyone called when they needed something, the one who always said yes, who never complained, who kept everyone's secrets and asked for nothing in return. I lived with my husband Jacob in the house I inherited from my grandmother. My sister Alex lived just 3 blocks away with her teenage son Danny. We had family dinners every Sunday, holiday gatherings, birthday parties. From the outside, we looked like the perfect close-knit family. But perfect families don't exist, and mine was built on lies I had been protecting for years. The thing about being the family secret keeper is that people trust you with information they shouldn't trust anyone with. They tell you things in confidence, expecting you to carry their burdens forever. They assume you're too weak, too loyal, too scared to ever use what you know against them. They were wrong about me being weak, but they were right about one thing. I had been scared of losing my family, scared of being alone, scared of what would happen if the truth came out. Until the day they gave me something worse than fear. They gave me rage. To understand why my revenge was so complete, you need to understand what I knew about my family, the secrets I had been carrying like stones in my chest for years. Jacob, my husband of 15 years, wasn't just the good man everyone thought he was. 3 years into our marriage, I discovered he had a son from a previous relationship. A son he had abandoned when the mother wouldn't give him money for his business dreams. That son was now 12 years old, living with his struggling mother in a trailer park 2 towns over. Jacob sent no support, made no contact, and told everyone, including me, that he had no children and never wanted any. I found out by accident when a letter arrived addressed to him from a lawyer about child support he had been avoiding. When I confronted him, he begged me not to tell anyone. He said it would ruin his reputation, hurt his business, destroy our marriage. So I kept his secret. I even helped him hide it by intercepting any mail that came about his son. But that wasn't the only secret I was keeping. My sister Alex, the single mother everyone admired for raising her son Danny alone, wasn't actually a single mother. She was married, had been for 8 years. Danny's father wasn't some deadbeat who left when she got pregnant, like she told everyone. He was a man named Robert who lived in California, who sent money every month, who called to talk to his son every weekend. Alex made Danny lie about his father being gone. She made him pretend he didn't have a dad because she wanted everyone's sympathy. She wanted to be seen as the strong, single mother, the victim, the one everyone should feel sorry for and help. She was collecting welfare benefits as a single mother, while her husband sent her money from his job in California. She was lying to everyone, including Danny, about why his father couldn't visit. The truth was, Robert had been trying to move the family to California for years. But Alex didn't want to leave our small town where she was the center of attention, as the struggling single mom everyone pitied. I discovered this secret when I accidentally answered Alex's phone during a family dinner, and Robert was on the line, asking to speak to his wife and son. Alex begged me not to tell anyone, especially our parents. She said it would destroy her relationship with everyone, that people would hate her for lying. She said Danny would never forgive her if he found out she was the reason his father couldn't be part of his life. So I kept her secret too. But the worst secret, the one that haunted my dreams and made me question everything I believed about love and family, belonged to our parents. My father, who everyone in town respected as a pillar of the community, who taught Sunday school and ran the local charity drive, had been having an affair for 12 years. Not just any affair, an affair with my mother's sister, my Aunt Carol. I found out during my Aunt Carol's divorce proceedings when I went to help her organize paperwork. Among the documents were hotel receipts, love letters, and photos that made it clear this wasn't just a recent fling. This had been going on since I was in college. My mother knew. She had known for years. But she stayed quiet because she was afraid of losing her social standing, her marriage, her place in the community. My Aunt Carol was divorcing her husband not because of any problems in their marriage, but because she wanted to be with my father openly. She was pressuring my father to leave my mother. The most heartbreaking part? My mother had been slowly destroying herself over this secret. She started drinking heavily, developed anxiety that required medication, and spent most of her time in her bedroom with the curtains closed. Everyone in the family thought she was just getting older, maybe a little depressed. But I knew she was dying inside from keeping the secret of her husband's betrayal. When I accidentally discovered the truth during Carol's divorce, both my parents begged me to keep quiet. They said it would destroy the entire extended family if it came out. They said it would hurt too many innocent people. So I kept their secret too, watching my mother fade away while protecting the man who was killing her spirit. For years, I carried all of these secrets. I watched Jacob be praised as a good man who would make a wonderful father someday, knowing he had abandoned his own son. I watched Alex receive sympathy and help as a struggling single mother, knowing she was lying to everyone, including her own child. I watched my mother slowly disappear while my father was celebrated as a devoted husband. And I said nothing. But keeping secrets doesn't just hurt the people you're protecting. It destroys the person carrying them. I developed insomnia because the lies haunted my sleep. I had panic attacks when family members would talk about honesty and loyalty. I started avoiding family gatherings because I couldn't stand watching everyone live in the fantasy I was helping maintain. The worst part was how they treated me, because I never fought back, never defended myself, never revealed what I knew. They assumed I was weak. They started treating me like I didn't matter. Jacob began dismissing my opinions in public, talking over me, making decisions without consulting me. Alex started dumping her responsibilities on me, expecting me to babysit Danny, help with her bills, listen to her problems while never offering support for mine. My parents began treating me like the failure child compared to their honest, hardworking daughters. The people whose secrets I was protecting were punishing me for being trustworthy. But there was one secret they didn't know. One secret I had been keeping about myself. Before I moved back to our small town and married Jacob, I wasn't just working random jobs like I told everyone. I was Dr. Christine Blake, a licensed clinical psychologist specializing in family trauma and manipulation. I had a PhD in psychology and had spent 5 years working with families destroyed by secrets, lies, and emotional abuse. I had written research papers on the psychological impact of family betrayal. I had testified in court cases about the long-term effects of emotional manipulation on children and spouses. I moved back home because I thought I wanted a simple life. I thought I was tired of dealing with other people's family drama. I wanted to be normal, to have a regular family, to leave the complicated psychology work behind. So I never told anyone about my education or my career. I let them think I was just Jacob's wife, just Alex's sister, just the quiet daughter who never accomplished anything important. But when your family starts destroying you with the secrets they make you keep, when the people you're protecting start treating you like you're worthless, those old skills don't just disappear. They wait. And when you finally need them, they come back stronger than ever. The moment that changed everything happened on a Tuesday evening in October. I was having dinner with Jacob when my phone rang. It was Alex, crying hysterically. "Christy, you have to help me," she sobbed. "Danny found some papers. He knows about Robert. He knows I've been lying about his dad." My heart sank. What happened? He was looking for his birth certificate for a school project and found the marriage license. He knows I'm married. He's asking why I never told him his father was alive and sending money. I could hear Danny yelling in the background, angry and confused. "What do you want me to do?" I asked. "Talk to him. Make him understand. You're good with kids. You can fix this." That's when it hit me. Alex wasn't calling because she felt guilty about lying to her son for 15 years. She wasn't calling because she realized she had been wrong. She was calling because she wanted me to help her lie more. She wanted me to convince a 15-year-old boy that his mother's betrayal was somehow justified. She wanted me to help her manipulate her own son into accepting that she had stolen years of his relationship with his father for her own selfish reasons. And she expected me to do it because I always said yes. Because I always helped clean up everyone else's messes. Because I was weak. Pushover Christy, who never stood up to anyone. "No," I said quietly. "What?" I said, "No, Alex. I'm not going to help you lie to Danny anymore." There was silence on the other end of the phone. "Christy, you don't understand. If Danny knows the truth about Robert, he's going to want to go live with him in California. I'll lose my son." "Maybe you should have thought about that before you lied to him for his entire life." "You can't be serious. You're my sister. You have to help me." I looked across the table at Jacob, who was pretending not to listen but was obviously hearing every word. The same Jacob whose own son was probably wondering why his father had abandoned him. "I'm done helping people lie to children," I said. Alex's voice changed from pleading to angry. "Fine. Be selfish. But don't expect me to keep covering for you when Mom and Dad ask why you never accomplished anything with your life." That's when I realized something that changed everything. Alex didn't just expect me to keep her secrets. She was threatening to create lies about me if I didn't. After I hung up, Jacob looked at me with an expression I had never seen before. It wasn't concern or support. It was annoyance. "You know Alex is right," he said. "Danny is just a kid. He doesn't need to know all the complicated adult stuff. You should help your sister work this out. Danny deserves to know his father." Sometimes kids are better off not knowing the truth about their parents. The irony of that statement, coming from a man who had abandoned his own child, was so overwhelming that I started laughing. Not happy laughter. The kind of laughter that comes when you realize you've been living in an insane world and pretending it was normal. "What's so funny?" Jacob asked. I looked at my husband, this man I had been protecting for years, and realized he wasn't just asking me to help Alex lie to Danny. He was asking me to help because he was terrified that if family secrets started coming out, his own secret might be exposed. That's when I understood something that changed the direction of my entire life. My family didn't love me. They needed me. They needed someone to carry their shame, to enable their lies, to clean up their messes without asking questions. And they had mistaken my love for weakness for so long that they thought they owned me. That night, after Jacob went to bed, I did something I hadn't done in 15 years. I opened my laptop and started researching my own family, like they were subjects in a psychological case study. I knew their secrets, but I didn't know the full extent of how their lies were affecting other people. I didn't know who else was being hurt by the deceptions I was helping maintain. What I found was worse than I had imagined. Jacob's abandoned son, Michael, was now 12 years old and had been in therapy for abandonment issues. His mother was working 2 jobs to pay for counseling because Michael blamed himself for his father disappearing. The child support payments Jacob had been avoiding weren't just about money. They were about a little boy who thought his father didn't love him. Danny, Alex's son, had been asking teachers and counselors at school about why some kids don't have fathers. He had been acting out behaviorally because he thought there was something wrong with him that made his dad leave. Meanwhile, his actual father, Robert, had been trying for years to get visitation rights, but Alex kept blocking his attempts through legal delays and false claims. My mother hadn't just been drinking because of my father's affair. She had been hospitalized twice for what doctors thought were heart problems, but which I now recognized as panic attacks and stress-related symptoms. She was literally dying from the stress of keeping my father's betrayal secret. But the most devastating discovery was about my Aunt Carol's divorce. Carol wasn't divorcing her husband because she wanted to be with my father. She was divorcing him because my father had been promising for 12 years that he would leave my mother, and she finally realized he was lying. Carol had wasted 12 years of her life believing in promises that were never real. She had given up other relationships, other opportunities, other chances at happiness, waiting for a man who was never going to choose her. My father wasn't just cheating on my mother. He was lying to both women, destroying both of their lives while maintaining his reputation as an upstanding community member. As I read through case files and research about family systems and psychological manipulation, I started recognizing patterns I had studied in graduate school but never applied to my own life. My family wasn't just keeping secrets. They were operating as a dysfunctional system where everyone's lies supported everyone else's lies, and I was the designated secret keeper who made it all possible. In psychology, we call this an enabling system. One person takes on the role of absorbing all the family's dysfunction so that everyone else can pretend to be normal. That person was me. But here's what I remembered from my training. Enabling systems only work if the enabler agrees to participate. The moment the enabler stops protecting everyone else's dysfunction, the entire system collapses. I had the power to end all of this. I just had to be willing to use it. Over the next 2 weeks, I developed what I called the Truth Project. It wasn't about revenge in the traditional sense. It was about therapeutic intervention on a family scale. My goal wasn't to destroy people. It was to force everyone to face the consequences of their choices and stop living in fantasy worlds built on lies. But I knew that if I just started telling the truth randomly, it would create chaos without healing. I needed to be strategic, like I used to be when designing treatment plans for families in crisis. I decided to start with the person who had the most to gain from the truth, Danny. I called Danny and asked if he wanted to meet me for ice cream. Just the two of us. He was surprised because I had never initiated one-on-one time with him before, but he agreed. When we met, I could see the confusion and hurt in his 15-year-old eyes. Alex had clearly been trying to convince him that the marriage certificate he found was some kind of mistake or old paperwork. "Danny," I said, "I want to tell you something important. Your mom is married to your father. His name is Robert, and he lives in California." Danny's face went through about 5 different emotions in 10 seconds. "I knew it," he said finally. "I knew Mom was lying." But why? Why would she lie about having a dad who's alive? I explained to Danny in age-appropriate terms that some adults make choices based on fear rather than love, that his mother was afraid of changes, afraid of losing control, afraid of admitting she had been wrong. "Does my dad want to see me?" Danny asked. "Your father has been trying to see you for years. Your mother has been preventing it because she didn't want to share you." Danny started crying. Not sad crying, angry crying. "She stole my dad from me," he said. "Yes, she did. And that's not your fault, and it's not your dad's fault. It's a choice your mother made because she was more concerned with what people thought of her than what was best for you." I gave Danny his father's phone number, which I had found in Alex's hidden papers months earlier. "But Danny," I said, "when you call your father, you need to understand that this is going to change everything. Your mother is going to be very angry with me for telling you the truth. Your whole family is going to be upset that this secret came out." Danny looked at me with more maturity than most adults I knew. "Aunt Christy, are there other secrets?" I looked at this kid who had been lied to his entire life and made a decision that would change everything. "Yes, Danny. There are other secrets, big ones, and I've been keeping them because I thought I was protecting people. But I realize now that keeping secrets just hurts more people. Are you going to tell the truth about everything?" "Yes, I am." Danny smiled for the first time in weeks. "Good. I'm tired of everyone pretending things are okay when they're not." The first domino falls. Danny called his father that night. Within 24 hours, Robert was on a plane to our town. Alex called me at 6 a.m. the next morning, screaming, "How could you do this to me? He's my son. He's also Robert's son. And Robert never abandoned him. You took him away. You don't understand the whole situation." I understand it perfectly, Alex. You lied to your son about his father being dead or absent so you could get sympathy and government benefits while his actual father was sending you money and begging to see his child. Silence on the phone. Danny is planning to go live with Robert in California, she finally said. That's Danny's choice. He's 15 years old. He's old enough to decide which parent he wants to live with. This is your fault. You destroyed my family. Your family was already destroyed, Alex. It was destroyed the day you decided to lie to your son about his father. I just stopped helping you hide the destruction. After I hung up, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Relief. The secret was out. Danny knew the truth. Robert was coming to fight for his son, and I no longer had to pretend that Alex was a victim when she was actually a perpetrator. But I was just getting started. That evening, Jacob came home from work excited about some new project he was planning. He started telling me about his ideas, his goals, his dreams for the future. As I listened to him talk about wanting to be a better person, wanting to build something meaningful with his life, I realized he had no idea that his own son was growing up without him. Jacob, I interrupted, I have something to tell you about Alex and Danny. I explained what had happened, how Danny now knew the truth about his father, how Robert was coming to town. Jacob was furious with me for interfering in Alex's family business. That wasn't your decision to make, he said. You're right, I replied. Just like it wasn't your decision to make when you abandoned Michael. Jacob's face went white. What are you talking about? I'm talking about your 12-year-old son who thinks his father doesn't love him. I'm talking about the child support you've been avoiding for years. I'm talking about the fact that you've been pretending you don't have children while your actual child has been in therapy for abandonment issues. Jacob sat down heavily in his chair. How do you know about Michael? I've known for 12 years, Jacob. I've been keeping your secret, intercepting your mail, helping you hide from your responsibilities as a father. You can't tell anyone about this. It would ruin everything. Everything is already ruined, Jacob. Your son is ruined because he thinks his father abandoned him. His mother is ruined because she's struggling to raise a child alone while you pretend he doesn't exist. And I'm ruined because I've been helping you lie about it. I pulled out a folder I had prepared. Inside were copies of all the letters from Michael's mother, all the legal documents about child support, all the evidence of Jacob's abandonment of his son. Here's what's going to happen, I said. You're going to call Michael's mother tomorrow and arrange to meet your son. You're going to start paying the child support you owe, and you're going to stop pretending you don't have children. And if I don't? Then I'm going to call Michael's mother and tell her exactly where to find you. I'm going to tell our entire family that you've been lying about having children. And I'm going to make sure everyone knows that you abandoned a little boy who needed his father. Jacob stared at me like he was seeing me for the first time. Who are you? He asked. I'm someone who spent 15 years protecting a man who didn't deserve protection. But I'm done now. 3 days later, after Jacob had agreed to meet his son and Alex was dealing with the reality that Danny was moving to California with his father, I made the decision to address the final and most devastating secret. I called my mother and asked her to meet me for lunch. Just the two of us. When we met, I could see how much the years of keeping my father's secret had aged her. She looked tired, anxious, and defeated. "Mom," I said, "I know about Dad and Carol." She almost dropped her coffee cup. "What are you talking about?" "I know about the affair. I know it's been going on for 12 years. I know you've been keeping it secret because you're afraid of what people will think." My mother started crying immediately. "Who told you?" "I found out by accident during Carol's divorce." "Mom, you're killing yourself keeping this secret." "If people find out, it will destroy our family, your father's reputation in the community, our standing at church, everything we've built." "Mom, what you've built is a lie, and it's destroying you." I reached across the table and took her hand. "You've been having panic attacks. You've been drinking. You barely leave the house anymore. You're dying inside while protecting a man who doesn't deserve your protection. I don't know how to live without your father." "You don't have to live without him if he's willing to end the affair and rebuild your marriage honestly. But you can't keep living like this." I pulled out another folder. This one contained information about counseling services, support groups for betrayed spouses, and legal resources. "Mom, you have choices. You can confront Dad and demand marriage counseling. You can leave him and rebuild your own life. Or you can keep destroying yourself to protect his reputation. But I'm not going to help you hide his betrayal anymore." My mother looked at the papers I had given her. "You've been planning this." "I've been preparing to stop enabling everyone's lies, yes." "What about Carol? What about her divorce?" "Carol has been wasting 12 years of her life waiting for Dad to leave you. She deserves to know that he's never going to choose her so she can move on with her life." My mother was quiet for a long time. "If this all comes out, everyone will know what kind of family we really are." "Mom, we're not a family. We're a group of people keeping each other's secrets. Real families tell each other the truth, even when it's hard." The final confrontation. That Sunday, for the first time in months, we had a family dinner. But this time, everyone knew it wasn't going to be like the others. Danny was there with his father, Robert, who had flown in from California. Alex was angry and defensive, but she couldn't argue with the fact that Danny was happier than he had been in years. Jacob was quiet and nervous because he knew his secret was out, and he was going to have to face his responsibilities. My parents came, but my mother looked determined in a way I hadn't seen in years, and my father looked worried. I had prepared what I mentally called the truth dinner. As we sat around the table, I stood up. "Before we eat," I said, "I have something to say to everyone." The room got quiet. "For years, I've been keeping secrets for all of you. I've been protecting lies, enabling dysfunction, and helping everyone maintain fantasies instead of dealing with reality." I looked around the table at each person. "Danny, your mother has been lying to you about your father being absent. Your father, Robert, has been trying to see you for years, and your mother prevented it." Alex started to protest, but I continued. "Jacob, you have a 12-year-old son named Michael who you abandoned when he was born. You've been avoiding child support and pretending you don't have children while your son thinks his father doesn't love him." Jacob's face turned red, but he said nothing. "Mom and Dad has been having an affair with Aunt Carol for 12 years. Mom has been keeping it secret because she's afraid of losing her social standing. Carol has been wasting her life waiting for a man who will never choose her. The silence in the room was deafening. I've been keeping all of these secrets because I thought I was protecting you. But I realize now that I was just enabling you to hurt other people and yourselves. I sat back down. So here's what's happening. Danny is going to live with his father in California, where he should have been allowed to live years ago. Jacob is going to meet his son Michael and start being a father. Mom and Dad are going to go to marriage counseling or get divorced, but they're going to stop living a lie. Robert, who was the only person at the table not involved in the family dysfunction, spoke up. I want to thank Christy for giving me back my relationship with my son. Danny and I have 15 years to make up for, and we're going to do it. Danny looked around the table at his extended family. I love all of you, he said, but I'm tired of pretending things are okay when they're not. I want to live with my dad. I want to have a real family based on truth, not lies. That's when Alex finally broke. You've destroyed everything, she screamed at me. You've taken away my son, ruined our family, made everyone hate each other. I looked at my sister calmly. I didn't destroy anything, Alex. I just stopped helping you maintain the destruction you created. The weeks following the truth dinner were chaotic, but they were also healing. Danny moved to California with Robert. Within a month, he was enrolled in a new school, had made friends, and was talking about the future with excitement I had never seen from him. Alex had a breakdown when she realized she was going to lose custody of Danny. But then something interesting happened. Without the stress of maintaining her lies, without the constant fear of being exposed, she started getting therapy. 6 months later, Alex called me. I owe you an apology, she said. Not just for being angry with you, but for putting you in the position of keeping my lies for so many years. I appreciate that, I said. I've been in counseling, and my therapist helped me understand that I was using you as my enabler. I was making you responsible for my choices so I didn't have to face consequences. It was the first honest conversation Alex and I had had in years. How is Danny? I asked. He's thriving. He video calls me twice a week, and he's going to visit for Christmas. Our relationship is actually better now that it's honest. Jacob's journey was more difficult. Meeting Michael after 12 years of abandonment was traumatic for both of them. Michael was angry, hurt, and confused about why his father had disappeared from his life. But Jacob committed to family therapy with Michael and his mother. He started paying child support and visiting every other weekend. It wasn't easy, and there were setbacks, but slowly they began building a relationship. The most surprising change was in Michael's mother, Sarah. She had been struggling financially and emotionally for 12 years, and Jacob's return to responsibility allowed her to go back to school and rebuild her own life. My parents' situation was the most complicated. When my mother finally confronted my father about the affair, he initially denied it. But when she showed him the evidence I had helped her gather, he broke down completely. My father ended the affair with Carol, but the damage to their marriage was extensive. They went to marriage counseling for 8 months before deciding to separate. Surprisingly, this turned out to be the best outcome for everyone. My mother discovered that she had been so focused on keeping the marriage together that she had forgotten who she was as an individual. During their separation, she started painting again, reconnected with old friends, and rediscovered her own interests. My father had to face the fact that he had been living a double life that hurt everyone he claimed to love. He moved out of our family home and into a small apartment where he began his own therapy to understand why he had made the choices he did. Carol, finally freed from the lie that my father would someday choose her, started dating other people and eventually met someone who was available to love her completely. But the biggest change was in me. For the first time in 15 years, I wasn't carrying anyone else's secrets. I wasn't enabling anyone's dysfunction. I wasn't pretending to be weaker than I was to make other people comfortable. I filed for divorce from Jacob, not because of anger or revenge, but because I realized our entire marriage had been built on lies. Jacob had married me partly because he thought I was naive enough to never question him. I had married Jacob because I thought I could love him into being a better person. Neither of those foundations was healthy for a real relationship. During our divorce proceedings, something interesting happened. Jacob fought me on every detail, trying to paint me as vindictive and unstable. But when his lawyers started asking questions about his abandoned son and his history of avoiding responsibilities, Jacob quickly agreed to a fair settlement. I kept the house I had inherited from my grandmother. Jacob kept his business. We split other assets equally, and I started the next chapter of my life. 6 months after my divorce was finalized, I did something I hadn't done in 15 years. I started using my real qualifications. I opened a private practice as a family therapist specializing in dysfunction systems and family secrets. I focused on helping people who had been designated as the family secret keeper, the enabler, the one who absorbed everyone else's problems. My first client was a woman whose husband had been gambling away their savings while she covered for him with their families. My second was a man whose adult children expected him to bail them out of financial problems repeatedly while treating him terribly. My third was a teenager whose parents were divorced, but kept involving her in their ongoing drama and expecting her to carry messages between them. In each case, I helped people understand that being loyal doesn't mean enabling destruction, that loving people sometimes means refusing to protect them from the consequences of their choices. Word spread quickly about my practice. Within a year, I had a waiting list of people who needed help breaking free from dysfunctional family systems. But the most rewarding part wasn't the professional success. It was the personal relationships I was finally able to build. Rebuilding family. 2 years after the Truth Dinner, we had another family gathering, but this time, it was completely different. Danny came to visit from California with his father, Robert. He was 17 now, confident, happy, and planning for college. He thanked me again for giving him the truth that let him have a real relationship with his dad. Alex came with her new boyfriend, a man she met in therapy who appreciated her honesty and didn't expect her to be perfect. She was working as a school counselor, using her experience with family dysfunction to help other families. Jacob brought Michael, who was now 14 and had decided he wanted to spend summers with his dad. The relationship between them was still developing, but it was honest. Michael knew his father had made mistakes, but he also knew his father was working to make up for them. My parents came together. They had decided to try rebuilding their marriage after individual therapy and counseling. It was a different marriage than they had before, based on honesty instead of secrets, but it was stronger. Even Carol came with her new husband. She and my father had made peace with their past and were able to be in the same room without drama. As I looked around the table at this imperfect but honest family, I realized something important. We weren't the same family we had been before. We were better. The most important thing I learned during this entire experience was about the nature of strength. For years, people had called me weak because I didn't fight back, didn't stand up for myself, didn't refuse to help when people asked. They thought strength looked like aggression, like selfishness, like putting yourself first, regardless of how it affected others. But real strength isn't about fighting. It's about choosing your battles wisely and fighting the right ones at the right time. I had been strong all along. I had been strong enough to carry other people's pain, strong enough to keep secrets that were eating me alive, strong enough to sacrifice my own needs for what I thought was the good of my family. But the strongest thing I ever did was recognize when my strength was being used against me and other innocent people. The strongest thing I ever did was stop protecting people who were using my protection to hurt others. The strongest thing I ever did was tell the truth, even when I knew it would change everything. People ask me if what I did was revenge, if I destroyed my family's lives because I wanted to hurt them for taking advantage of me. The answer is complicated. Part of me was angry. Part of me wanted them to face consequences for treating me like I didn't matter. Part of me enjoyed watching them squirm when their secrets came out. But revenge implies that I wanted to hurt people just to hurt them. That wasn't my goal. My goal was liberation. Liberation for Danny, who deserved to know his father. Liberation for Michael, who deserved to have his father in his life. Liberation for my mother, who was destroying herself, keeping someone else's secret. Liberation for Carol, who was wasting her life on false promises. And most importantly, liberation for myself. The best revenge isn't hurting the people who hurt you. It's refusing to let them use you to hurt others. It's choosing truth over comfort, healing over enabling, and your own well-being over other people's convenience. Today, 5 years after I stopped keeping everyone else's secrets, my life looks completely different. Danny graduated high school in California with honors and is studying psychology in college. He wants to become a family therapist like me. He visits me twice a year, and we have a relationship based on honesty and mutual respect instead of family obligation. Michael is now 17 and spends every summer with Jacob. Their relationship isn't perfect, but it's real. Michael has told me that knowing his father chose to come back into his life, even late, helped him understand that he was worthy of love. Alex finished her degree in counseling and runs support groups for single mothers. But now she helps them navigate custody issues honestly, instead of teaching them how to manipulate the system. She's been married to her therapist boyfriend for 2 years, and they're expecting their first child together. Jacob remarried a woman who knew about his past mistakes from the beginning. She helped him become a better father to Michael and supported him through the difficult process of rebuilding that relationship. He still runs his construction business, but he also volunteers with programs that help young fathers learn to be responsible parents. My parents celebrated their 40th wedding anniversary last year, but it was their second marriage to each other. They renewed their vows after 2 years of therapy and rebuilding their relationship on honesty. My mother started a support group at their church for women dealing with infidelity. My father volunteers with marriage counseling programs. Carol married a wonderful man who had also been through betrayal in his first marriage. They have a relationship based on complete transparency and mutual respect. She and my father can now be at family gatherings without awkwardness because everyone knows the truth and has processed it. My therapy practice has grown beyond what I ever imagined. I now train other therapists in working with families trapped in secret-keeping systems. I've written 2 books about family dysfunction and the psychology of enabling relationships. But the most rewarding part of my work is seeing people recognize their own strength. Last month, a client told me she had finally confronted her drug-addicted brother instead of giving him money and lying to their parents about where he was. Within a week, he had checked himself into rehab because he realized he couldn't manipulate her anymore. Another client stopped covering for her husband's drinking and told their children the truth about why Daddy was sick all the time. Instead of protecting her husband's image, she started protecting her children's understanding of reality. Her husband got sober within 3 months. These people weren't weak before they made these changes. They were strong enough to carry other people's burdens, but they were using their strength in ways that enabled more damage. The most powerful thing you can do is redirect your strength toward healing instead of enabling. The most surprising outcome of everything that happened was the relationship I developed with my grandmother's memory. I inherited her house, but I never really understood her until I started living honestly. As I went through her belongings more carefully, I found journals she had kept throughout her life. My grandmother had also been a secret keeper for her family. She had covered for my grandfather's drinking, protected my father from consequences when he was young, and enabled dysfunction for decades. But in her later years, she had recognized what she was doing and started changing. Her journals documented her journey from enabler to truth teller, from people pleaser to boundary setter. In her final journal entry, written just weeks before she died, she wrote, "I hope Christy finds the courage I took too long to find. She has the strength to carry everyone's pain. But I pray she learns to use that strength to heal instead of hide." My grandmother had seen my potential for both enabling and healing. She had left me her house not just as an inheritance, but as a foundation for building a different kind of life. Reading her journals helped me understand that my journey wasn't just about my immediate family. It was about breaking generational patterns of dysfunction that had been passed down through our family for decades. The changes in our family created ripple effects I never anticipated. Danny's success in California inspired other teenagers in our town who felt trapped by their family's expectations. Several of them reached out to me for counseling, and many found the courage to pursue their own authentic paths instead of living up to lies their families had created about them. Michael's story about reconnecting with his absent father encouraged other single mothers in our community to be honest with their children about custody situations instead of demonizing their ex-partners. My parents' decision to rebuild their marriage honestly instead of hiding behind a perfect facade gave other couples in their church the courage to seek help for their own relationship problems instead of pretending everything was fine. Alex's transformation from manipulative single mother to honest counselor created a model for other women who had been using their victim status to avoid taking responsibility for their choices. Even Jacob's journey from absent father to involved parent showed other men in our community that it's never too late to do the right thing, even if you have to face uncomfortable truths about your past. If you're listening to this story and recognizing yourself in it, if you're the family secret keeper, the one everyone comes to when they need someone to clean up their messes, the one who always says yes, even when it's hurting you, I want you to understand something crucial. Your kindness is not weakness. Your loyalty is not stupidity. Your willingness to help others is not a character flaw. But when your kindness is being used to enable cruelty, when your loyalty is being used to protect lies, when your help is making it easier for people to hurt others, then continuing those behaviors is not loving. It's not loving to the people being hurt by the lies you're keeping. It's not loving to the people you're protecting because you're preventing them from facing consequences that might motivate them to change. And it's not loving to yourself because you're sacrificing your own well-being to maintain other people's dysfunction. The most loving thing you can do is tell the truth, set boundaries, and refuse to participate in systems that hurt people. Our family today doesn't look like the family we were 5 years ago. We're smaller in some ways. Some relationships ended when the lies were exposed, but we're stronger in every way that matters. We have conflicts now, but they're honest conflicts about real issues, not hidden resentments about secret betrayals. We have problems, but we solve them together instead of forcing one person to carry everyone else's burdens in silence. We have imperfections, but we acknowledge them and work on them instead of pretending they don't exist. Most importantly, we have trust. Real trust, based on honesty, not fake trust, based on the assumption that no one will ever tell the truth. The children in our family, Danny and Michael, are growing up learning that families can have problems and still love each other. They're learning that telling the truth, even when it's difficult, is more important than maintaining appearances. They're learning that strength means taking responsibility for your choices, not avoiding consequences for your actions. They're learning that love means wanting the best for someone even if it's uncomfortable, not protecting them from reality. So was what I did revenge? In the end, I think it was. But it wasn't revenge against my family. It was revenge against the lies that were destroying all of us. It was revenge against the secrets that were poisoning our relationships. It was revenge against the enabling that was preventing healing. It was revenge against the dysfunction that was stealing years of authentic connection from all of us. I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below, and if this story resonated with you, please give it a like and subscribe to hear more tales of family betrayal and ultimate vengeance. Share this with someone who might struggle with family relationship to remind them that the ultimate revenge against betrayal isn't hurting the people who betrayed you. It's refusing to betray yourself by continuing to protect their lies. The ultimate revenge against manipulation isn't manipulating them back. It's becoming impossible to manipulate because you're committed to truth regardless of consequences. The ultimate revenge against people who underestimate you isn't proving you're stronger than they thought. It's using your strength in ways that create healing instead of hiding damage. My name is Christy Jackson, and everyone used to call me weak. They were wrong about me being weak. But they were also wrong about what strength looks like. Strength isn't about fighting everyone who hurts you. Strength isn't about refusing to help people who need you. Strength isn't about putting yourself first, regardless of how it affects others. Real strength is knowing when your help is actually hurting and choosing healing over enabling. Real strength is loving people enough to tell them the truth, even when lies would be more comfortable. Real strength is building a life based on authenticity instead of protecting other people's fantasies. Real strength is understanding that the most powerful thing you can do is refuse to participate in systems that damage people, even when those people are your family, even when refusing means everything changes, even when the truth destroys the life you thought you wanted. I'm not the same woman I was 5 years ago. That woman was strong, but she was using her strength to hold up a house of lies. This woman is still strong, but now I use my strength to build foundations of truth that can support real love, real growth, and real healing. The people who underestimated me weren't wrong about my capacity for loyalty, sacrifice, and love. They were just wrong about thinking those qualities made me controllable. The quiet ones, the kind ones, the ones who seem weak, we're not weak at all. We're just choosing our battles carefully. And when we finally choose to fight, we don't just win. We heal everyone involved, including the people who try to use our strength against us. That's the kind of revenge that changes everything. That's the kind of strength that transforms families. That's the kind of truth that sets everyone free. My name is Christy Jackson, and I am exactly the woman I was always meant to be.